The Knicks continued their domination of the Pistons on Friday night as they recorded their 16th straight victory over Detroit, 128-98 in the Motor City. With the win, the Knickerbockers moved over 500 for the first time this season. Here with me to talk some New York basketball is the host of the Nick of Time show. My guy Jay Ellis joins me now. Jay, what's going on?
What's going on, Dexter, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Knicks offense looking good. Detroit, not so good. 16 times in a row. That's never good for the opposition, but good for the Knicks. And Jay Ellis, the Knicks, they never trailed against Detroit. They led by at least 20 points for the final 40 minutes of this contest. What impressed you about the Knicks in their second straight victory this season?
You would think I would say the offense because the Knicks did have 30 assists that game, but to me, it's not really the offense that impressed me. It's the defense, all right? Because the Knicks played spectacular defense for all four quarters. They had 16 steals. They forced 22 turnovers. Miles McBride had 4 steals. I feel like every starter at least had 2 steals, and they were doing everything. They were blowing up people handoffs. They were playing for each other. They were rotating. They were contesting from the rear view. Hell, even Jaylen Brunson looked like a Defensive Player of the Year candidate yesterday. And on top of that, I want to give a big shout out to my brother Lee Escobedo, who pointed this out. The defensive schemes from Tibbs has evolved with the players. During the Cavs game, I saw Karl Anthony Towns kind of struggle with pick and roll defense. My boy Lee pointed out the other day, he was like, hey, I've noticed that he has not been in those situations, and the Wings have been in those situations, which tells me that Tibbs is playing to his players' strengths, and you can see that Knicks are reaping the benefits of leaning into their strengths, which is the wing defense of Mikal Bridges and Josh Hart and OG Anunoby, as Knicks fans like to call them Wingstop. So I'm loving the defense from the Knicks, and I hope that continues moving forward.
No, it's definitely good to give him credit. I am stunned that Lee, who has turned a new leaf, he's out here giving credit to Tom Thibodeau. 2 years
Yes,
ago, he
sir.
was not doing that. We know how he has changed there, Jay Ellis. Let me just ask you this as a follow up. Jay, because you talked about the fact that you love the defense and the defensive effort was absolutely there. There was some concern from some Knicks fans about the offense, particularly after game one against the Celtics. What did you like about what you saw from the offense last night? I know you're not particularly as concerned about that, but what did you like of what you saw from the Knicks offensively?
I just liked how the offense was moving. Like I said, we had 30 assists. I like how the main characters on this team got to eat. Because, there was a game where Karl Anthony Towns really didn't touch the ball. Jaylen Brunson called himself out and said, hey, he needs more than 8 shots. So we saw Karl Anthony Towns moving the ball and even getting touches. He had 7 assists. You also had Mikal Bridges chipping in 15 points. OG Anunoby did really well in the first quarter. And Jaylen Brunson went back to being Jaylen Brunson and doing Jaylen Brunson things. So everybody ate. Everybody was happy. The threes were raining. I feel like the Knicks are, I think, a top three 3-point shooting team. I'm saying off the top of my head, but just looking at what's going on, I feel like we're a really good 3-point shooting team, and we've just done well for ourselves on the offensive end. At the end of the day, I can really see this team being a top three offensive team in the league, just the way they share the ball and they can shoot threes. So the league better watch out. The Knicks are coming.
All right, there you go. Good look. Knicks looking good on the defensive and offensive end like that there. Now, you mentioned the captain, Jaylen Brunson, shot 33% in each of the previous two games before Detroit against Cleveland and Miami, but he had a strong performance, 36 points on 14 of 22 shooting against the Pistons. Is this the kind of game that can get the Knicks captain going offensively?
Yes, yes, absolutely, man. My 1A, you cannot hold that man down for long. He usually doesn't have 2 or 3 bad games in a row. Here's the thing, though, what people need to realize, Jalen Brunson last season had to do things by himself. There was no Julius Randle. Half the team was injured. So he had to figure out how to propel this team. And the way he did it was by scoring, and he's a gifted scorer. This season, we added 2 huge pieces in Karl Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges. And both of those guys aren't just shooters. Those are guys who can also be in the post. So you know what? He has to now find a new rhythm. And when you're a scorer, having to find a new rhythm with other scorers who can also post and do other things, sometimes it takes you a minute. And It takes you a minute to find that rhythm. So in the short term, you might see some stop and go with Jaylen Brunson, but in the long term, we're going to see him flourish. And this was a good game to kind of get that balance going of when to pass and when to score. And he threaded that needle perfectly today.
Yeah, he looked fantastic against the Pistons. I said 36-piece for the Knicks captain. Now the Knicks, Jay Ellis, they're off to a 2-0 start on this road trip. Halfway through the trip, they've got games at Houston, at Atlanta before returning home to play the Bucks. So what are the keys to the Knicks finishing this road trip with a winning record?
I think, first of all, don't sleep on the Rockets. I know they're a young team, but they gave us problems. But in general, don't sleep on the Rockets because the Rockets are a great offensive team. They're number one offensive rebounding team. The Knicks this season, 29th in rebounding. For us, we're going to have to shore up our rebounding. So in general, since 28 other teams are just better than us. So that's key one. Fix the rebounding, especially against the Rockets. Key number two, defense. Defense, defense, defense. We've had played defense in spurts. We played really well versus the Pacers, one of the top offenses teams last season from start to finish. We played in spurts versus the Cavs. We played really well versus the Pistons. We're going to have to do that once again against a good team in the Rockets and also the Bucks and the Hawks. And we have to keep it consistent. All right, right now we're middle of the pack. We have the potential to be a top 10, top 5 maybe if we put our pedal to the metal. So we have to play defense consistently. And number three, the offense has to keep moving. We have to keep passing the ball. We have to keep sharing the ball. Most importantly, I feel like there's a hierarchy on this team. If Pat, McCall, and Brunson aren't getting the shots, I'm gonna be a little upset. I feel like in reality, I want everybody to share the ball, but those three in particular have to eat. And if we get to those three keys, I feel like we're gonna do well for ourselves these next 3 games, and we'll end up being 3-0.
All right, that would be nice. 3-0 and finish the road trip. A 4-0 road trip would be really nice for the Knicks. Knicks fans would definitely sign for that, especially, as you know, Jay Ellis, a lot of Knicks fans were concerned after opening night, what we saw in Boston and the Boston 3 party. But things have righted themselves, right? Things have gotten a little bit better. The vibes are feeling a little bit better around the Knicks. We'll see how they finish out this road trip. That is my guy, Jay Ellis, host of the Knick of Time show. Check them out. Subscribe to the channel. Do all that good stuff. JL, it's good to connect with you and talk some Knicks hoops. We'll talk again soon.
Absolutely, absolutely. Talk to you soon, Dexter.